Welcome to the City of Kirkland's Council meeting for the 4th of November, 2024. Before we do start, I'd like just to take a moment. Novembre. Novembre apporte le jour du souvenir. Un moment pour honorer les courageux soldats canadiens qui ont marqué notre histoire. Leur bravoure et sacrifice, surtout lors du débarquement du jour J, il y a 80 ans, témoignent de leur engagement pour notre liberté. Ces soldats étaient plus que des guerriers. Ils étaient des pères, des mères, fils et filles revendus d'un monde de paix. On nous souvient d'eux, nous imaginons un avenir paisible pour nos enfants. Un monde meilleur grâce à nos sacrifices. Aujourd'hui, nous nous souvenons, nous réfléchissons et promettons de ne jamais oublier. November brings Remembrance Day, a moment to honor the brave Canadian soldiers who marked our history. Their courage and sacrifice, especially during the D-Day landings, which was 80 years ago, show their commitment to our freedom. And these soldiers were more than warriors, they were fathers, mothers, sons, and daughters, dreaming of a world of peace. By remembering them, we envision a peaceful future for our children, a better world thanks to their sacrifices. Today we remember, we reflect, and promise never to forget. Can we please take a moment and stand? Just a minute of silence to honor them, please. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Annie.
Thank you. We will start by adopting our agenda. So, il est proposé d'adopter l'ordre du jour de la présente séance ordinaire du 4 novembre 2024 telle que déposée.
Une proposition, s'il vous plaît.
I'll propose that all before.
Appuyé par.
Je l'appuie, Dominique Ziclot.
Item 3.1. It is proposed that the minutes of the regular sitting held on October 7, 2024 be approved.
Proposed by.
I'll propose that, Steve Bouchard.
And second by.
I'll second that, Mike Brown.
Au point 4, compte payable. Il est proposé de confirmer et d'approuver le paiement d'un montant total de 6 638 331 76 sous pour l'ensemble des chèques émis et annulés, les dépôts directs et les paiements priorisés pour la période du 1er au 31 octobre 2024. Et le conseil municipal prend également acte du dépôt de la liste des contrats conclus en octobre 2024 comportant une dépense de plus de 25 000
Proposé par.
Je vais proposer chacun.
Et appuyé par.
Je vais seconder, Steve Bouchard.
Merci.
Nous sommes maintenant au point 5, réglementation. Le premier est le règlement 5.1. Il est proposé de donner animation à l'effet qu'à une séance ultérieure du Conseil soit présenté pour adoption le règlement numéro GEN 2025-51, intitulé Règlement sur la tarification de certains services municipaux, et de déposer ce projet de règlement. L'objet de ce règlement est de mettre à jour les tarifs de la municipalité pour l'année 2025. Et l'adoption du règlement est prévue pour la séance ordinaire du 2 décembre.
Alors, un avis de motion, s'il vous plaît, et un dépôt par.
I will give notice of motion and I will call the floor.
Merci.
Item 5.2, bylaw number SPAIP-2022-55-3, entitled Bylaw Amending Bylaw SPAIP-2022-55 on site planning and architectural integration programs in order to add criteria applicable to new residential buildings in Zone 164R is presented for adoption. Considering that a draft of this bylaw was adopted at the regular sitting of October 7 and that no representations were made during the public consultation held on October 22nd, and that copies were made available to the public on the town's website, it is proposed to adopt bylaw SPAIP-2022-55-3. I would like to inform you that this bylaw will come into force after obtaining a certificate of conformity from the agglomeration of Montreal and its publication on the town's website and bulletin boards that will come in the coming weeks.
Moved by.
I'll propose that, Steve Bouchard.
And second by.
I will second this again.
Thank you.
Nous sommes maintenant sur la section contrat, le premier point 6.1. Suivant l'appel d'offres pour le contrat Génie 2024-520-2, construction d'une nouvelle patinoire réfrigérée au parc Hollifer. La ville a reçu 3 soumissions dans les délais impartis. Ces soumissions ont été ouvertes publiquement le 25 octobre. Il est proposé d'octroyer le contrat Génie 2024-520-2 pour la construction de la nouvelle patinoire réfrigérée au parc Hollifer à les excavations Super Inc., le plus bas soumissionnaire conforme pour un montant total de 3 327 671 $ et 7 sous, toutes taxes applicables incluses.
Proposé par.
I'll propose it, Dominic Zito.
Et appuyé par.
Is there that the Chairman Chapman?
Merci.
Item 6.2 is also an awarding of contract. So this is a public call for tenders, contract TP 2024-49-1, acquisition of a road salt spreader. One bid was received within the allotted time frame. It was opened publicly on October 28th. It is proposed to award this contract for the acquisition of a road salt spreader to A.B. Schmidt Canada Inc., the only conforming bidder, for a total amount of $91,865.03, all applicable taxes included.
Thank you. Can I have a proposal, please?
I'll propose that, Mike Brown.
And second by.
Je vais le seconder, Carrington.
Thank you.
Au point 6.3, un autre octroi. Cette fois-ci, il s'agit du contrat TP 2024-56, nivellement du dépôt à neige. Dans le cadre de cet appel d'offres public, 7 soumissions ont été reçues à l'intérieur du délai imparti. Les soumissions ont été ouvertes publiquement le 28 octobre. Il est proposé d'octroyer le contrat TP 2024-56, nivellement du dépôt à neige, à les entreprises J. Piccioni Inc., le plus bas soumissionnaire conforme pour un montant total de 90 522 $ et 12 sous, toutes taxes applicables incluses.
Proposé par.
Je vais le proposer, Carrington.
Et appuyé par.
I'll second that, Mike Brown.
Merci.
Item 6.4, contract Rep 2022-11, maintenance of the arena's refrigeration systems with 3 renewal options, was initially awarded on June 13, 2022. To Climat Control SB Inc., 0C, it is proposed to authorize an additional expenditure of $7,833.15, all applicable taxes included, payable to Climat Control SB Inc. for additional work carried out under this contract during the first renewal option year.
Moved by.
Je vais le proposer, Dominic Zito.
And second by.
I will second that, Carrington.
Thank you.
Point 6.5, le contrat REC 2024-01, fourniture et installation de stations d'exercice de parcours santé au parc Meads. a été initialement octroyé le 15 janvier 2024 à Aménagement Sud-Ouest. Il est proposé d'autoriser une dépense additionnelle de 5 698 $, toute taxe applicable incluse, payable à Aménagement Sud-Ouest pour des travaux supplémentaires effectués dans le cadre de ce contrat.
Proposé par
I'll propose that, Paul Dufour.
et appuyé par.
I'll support Mr. Dufour, Dominic Zito.
Thank you.
We're now under Section 7, Administration and Finance. First item, 7.1. Considering that the City of Montreal is considering ending water fluoridation by the end of 2024, and that this decision was made unilaterally without consultation with the demerged cities and the population, it is proposed to request the City of Montreal to reconsider its decision to cease water fluoridation and ask that they hold a public consultation to allow all concerned citizens to make representations on this subject.
Moved by
I'll propose that, Steve Bouchard.
and second by.
I will second that, Paul Dufour.
Thank you.
Le point 7.2, il est proposé d'autoriser la trésorière à transférer un excédent affecté de 9 30 000 plus les intérêts générés par les placements garantis en 2023 de 458 590 $ pour un total de 9 488 000 590 vers l'excédent affecté destiné aux infrastructures municipales.
Proposé par
Je vais le proposer du chacun.
et appuyé par.
On va le seconder, Paul Dufour.
Merci.
At item 7.3, the Municipal Council acknowledges the tabling before this Assembly of the comparative statements of revenues and expenditures of the Town of Kirkland ending on September 30th, 2024, prepared by Nadine Basila, Treasurer and Assistant Director General, the whole in accordance with Section 105.4 of the Cities and Towns Act. It's a tabling. Il n'y a aucune contribution financière additionnelle aux organismes communautaires locaux à approuver à la présente séance. Which brings us to Section 8, Human Resources. Item 8.1, it is proposed to appoint and confirm Mr. Pascal Forget to the white-collar position of Equipment and Material Distribution Agent within the Administrative Services as of April 29, 2024, the whole in accordance with the provisions of the collective agreement currently in force for white-collar employees of the Town of Kirkland.
Moved by
I'll propose that, Mike Brown.
and second by.
I'll second it, Dominic Zito.
Thank you.
Au point 9, comité consultatif d'urbanisme, le premier point, item 9.1, is the appointment of the members of the Planning Advisory Committee. So it's proposed to appoint the members of the Planning Advisory Committee as follows. Co-chairman, Mr. Stephen Bouchard, Councillor. Or co-chairman, Mr. Luciano Pichacchia, Councillor. Secretary, Luther Gutierrez, Section Head, Urban Planning. Resource persons, Alexandre Javet, Director, Urban Planning. And the inspection clerks, also of Urban Planning. Ms. Ella Anini, Ms. Rosemary Caparelli, Mr. Nadi Jordak, Ms. Gilda Paulin, Mr. Jean-Marc Roberge, Ms. Yona Theodorescu, and to grant the members of the Planning Advisory Committee a mandate from November 1st, 2024 to October 31st, 2025, and to set the date of the regular monthly meetings of this committee for the second Tuesday of the month, beginning at 6:30 p.m.
Proposed by
I'll propose that, Karen Cliff.
and second by.
I will second that, Mike Brown.
Second Tuesday. 9.2, il s'agit d'une dérogation mineure. Il est proposé d'accorder en vertu du règlement 90-63, intitulé Règlement relatif aux dérogations mineures de la ville de Kirkland, la dérogation mineure suivante au règlement de zonage 90-58. L'adresse est le 17 311 route transcanadienne, située situé sur le lot 6557894 dans la zone 306M. Il s'agit de Polar Pack Company, afin de permettre l'installation de 2 enseignes directionnelles, chacune d'une superficie de 2,97 m² au lieu de 0,5 m², conformément à l'article 8.10F du règlement de zonage, et l'installation d'une enseigne directionnelle d'une superficie de 0,56 m² au lieu de 0,5 m², conformément à l'article 8.10F du règlement de zonage. Cette dérogation minable conditionnelle à ce qu'aucune enseigne directionnelle supplémentaire ne soit installée sur la propriété.
Proposé par
Je vais le proposer, Steve Bouchard.
et appuyé par.
Je vais l'appuyer, check.
Merci.
Item 9.3, it is proposed to take note of the request of approval of the site planning and architectural integration program and accompanying documents for the construction project of a church on lot 1991706 in zone 18P, located at 75 Kirkland Boulevard, and the extract of the minutes of the TAC meeting held on October 8, 2024, and to approve as submitted the site planning and architectural integration plans listed in item 2.1.1 of the minutes of the TAC meeting held on October 8, these plans being in conformity with bylaw SPAIP-2022-55 and having received a favorable recommendation from the PAC.
Moved by
I'll move it to Cheryl to check in.
and second by.
I'll second that, Steve Bouchard.
Thank you.
9.4, il est proposé de prendre acte de la demande d'approbation des plans d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale et des documents d'accompagnement relativement au projet de modification extérieure sur le lot 1994008 dans la zone 138R, situé au 265 rue Acres, et de l'extrait du procès-verbal suscité du 8 octobre, et d'approuver tel quel les plans d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale éliminés au point 3.1.1 du procès-verbal de la réunion du 8 octobre. Ces plans étant conformes au règlement PIA 2022-55 et ayant fait l'objet d'une recommandation favorable du CCU.
Proposé par
Je vais le proposer, Steve Bouchard.
et appuyé par.
Je vais l'appuyer, Cheryl to check in.
Merci.
9.5, it is proposed to take note of the request for approval of the site planning and architectural integration program and accompanying documents for the exterior modification on lot 245A226 in zone 101R, located at 16 Country Court Street, and the extract of the minutes of the TAC meeting held on October 8, and to approve as submitted the site planning and architectural integration plans listed in item 3.3.1 of the minutes of the TAC meeting of October 8. These plans being in conformity with bylaw SPAIP-2022-55 and having received a favorable recommendation from the TAC.
Proposed by
I will propose it to Cheryl to check in.
and second by.
I'll second that, Steve Bouchard.
Thank you.
Au point 10, il s'agit du comité de démolition. Il est proposé de nommer les membres du comité de démolition de la ville de Kirkland comme suit. Le maire Michel Gibson, agissant comme président ou en son absence et ou en cas d'incapacité d'agir, le maire suppléant. Les conseillers, M. Steven Bouchard et Luciano Pichacchia. Secrétaire, M. Luther Gutiérrez, chef de section aménagement urbain. Personne ressources, Alexandre Gervais, directeur, service d'aménagement urbain. Et d'accorder aux membres du comité de démolition un mandat s'échelonnant du 1er novembre 2024 au 31 octobre 2025.
Yes. Proposé par
I'll propose that all before.
et appuyé par.
I'll second that, Steve Bouchard.
Thank you.
There is no business pertaining to public security and traffic table at the city. Ce qui nous amène au point 12, environnement.
I'll second that, Mike Brown.
Thank you. As for demolition,
Yeah.
item 10. Thank you.
Okay. So I was at 12, environnement. 12.1, comité consultatif en environnement. Il est proposé de nommer les membres du comité consultatif en environnement comme suit. Président, M. Mike Brown, conseiller. Vice-présidente, Mme Nancy Coquinassidis, conseillère. Personne ressources, Alexandre Gervais, directeur de l'aménagement urbain et de l'environnement. M. Colin Campbell, M. David Cruz et M. Daniel Trottier. D'accorder aux membres du comité consultatif en environnement un mandat s'échelonnant du 1er novembre 2024 au 31 octobre 2025, de fixer le jour de la tenue des assemblées régulières mensuelles du comité au premier mardi du mois à compter de 19 h.
Proposé par.
I'll propose that, Paul, before.
Et appuyé par.
I can do this one. Second by Steve Bouchard.
Thank you.
C'est maintenant le temps du rapport du maire au niveau des affaires d'agglomération. So the mayor's report on decisions taken by the Montreal Urban Agglomeration Council at the regular meeting held on October 24, 2024.
That was attended by our councillor, Mr. Paul Dufour. Paul?
Yes, thank you. As pro-mayor, I replaced Mayor Gibson out of town with this commercial meeting. The only thing of any importance, I think, on that is that the mayors of the ASM, our suburban mayors, rose up and complained of the lack of communication. The process that was in place, which was zero, to come to the conclusion that they would take up the fluoridation from the door valve and point to plants which we benefit from. That was the main point of contention, was there was no process at all of consultation, no communication until it was a fait accompli. So that was basically the gist of it from several mayors who stood up and questioned City Montreal Commerce.
Thank you, Paul.
Il n'y a aucune affaire gouvernementale à traiter à la présente séance. Item 15, support resolution. The first one is 15.1. Considering the Charter of Human Rights and Freedoms, that this charter recognizes that every human being has the right to life and to personal security, inviolability, and freedom. Considering that it is in the private sphere that this right is most threatened for women, and that in 2019, the Ministère de la Sécurité publique du Québec counted 16,626 women victims of offenses against the person committed in a conjugal context. Considering that since 1995, Quebec has adopted an intervention policy on matters of domestic violence, and that despite the efforts made, domestic violence still exists and constitutes an obstacle to the achievement of the equality between men and women. Considering that during the 12 days of action for the elimination of violence against women, from November 25th to December 6th, actions are taking place throughout Quebec. Considering that as a local government, there is cause to support the efforts of the Regroupement des Maisons pour Femmes Victimes de Violences Conjugales and its member shelters to raise awareness among citizens about domestic violence. So considering all of that, it is proposed to proclaim the town of Kirkland an allied municipality against domestic violence.
Thank you. Moved by?
I will gladly move that. Support the resolution, Dominic Zito.
And second by?
I will second that, support Dominic Zito. Thank you.
Thank you.
Au point 15.2, il s'agit de la Journée internationale des personnes handicapées. Considérant que cette journée a été instaurée par l'Organisation des Nations Unies afin de promouvoir les droits et le bien-être des personnes handicapées dans toutes les sphères de la société, considérant que cette journée vise à sensibiliser la population à la réalité des personnes handicapées et aux difficultés que ces personnes rencontrent au quotidien, et qu'il est possible de faire une différence pour bâtir une société plus inclusive en passant par les citoyens, les employeurs, les écoles et les municipalités. Il est proposé de décréter le 3 décembre 2024 Journée internationale des personnes handicapées sur le territoire de la ville de Kirkland et d'inviter la population à participer au changement en relayant de l'information en lien avec cette journée, en encourageant la réflexion et en prenant des initiatives afin de faire une différence pour bâtir une société plus inclusive.
Proposé par
Je vais le proposer du chairman Chapman.
et appuyé par.
I second to support that resolution, Mike Brown.
Thank you.
The municipal council takes note of the tabling of the correspondence for the month of October 2024 by the town clerk. Il n'y a aucune affaire nouvelle qui est traitée à la présente séance, ce qui nous amène à la période des questions du public, qui est maintenant ouverte. Et tout membre du public qui désire s'adresser au conseil est prié de faire appeler derrière le micro. Lorsque le droit de parole vous est accordé, veuillez énoncer vos noms et adresses et formuler votre question de manière claire et concise en vous adressant au maire, ici la mairesse suppléante, dans un langage respectueux. Chaque intervention est limitée à 2 questions portant sur les affaires de la ville. Il vous sera possible de poser des questions supplémentaires lorsque tous les membres du public qui désirent s'adresser au conseil auront eu l'occasion de le faire. Public question period is now open. Members of the audience who wish to address the council are requested to line up behind the microphone. When given the floor, please state your name and address and direct your question to the mayor in a clear and concise manner using the respectful language. Each intervention is limited to 2 questions related to the town's affairs. You will be able to ask additional questions once all members of the audience who wish to address the council have had a chance to do so.
Good evening, Madame la Mairesse and members of
Mr.
council.
Dijon. Please state your name and address.
Oh yeah, concentrating on that, okay. Luc Dijon, 16876 Hines, Kirkland, okay. So my question, I'll be beginning with to introduce my question. You know, it's been 3 months since we had that storm sewer flooding in Kirkland, eh? There are 100 condos on Bruce and Hymas streets where I live that have basement windows below the level of the sidewalk. There is the grass part, which a little higher, but what happened there the 9th of August is that filthy sewer water came within a few inches of entering through the frame of my closed basement window facing the street, and flooding my basement could have been 6 feet of water if it had continued to rain. Fortunately, the rain stopped at that time. So if the flood water outside had been, like I just said, it would have been flooded, whether a backflow preventer had been installed or not, I would have been flooded with 6 feet of water, is what I'm trying to say. Climate change is accelerating, as you probably know. Heavier storm rain is coming, very likely coming. And my point is that backflow preventers are not the cure-all for protection of homes against climate change, flooding. And cities like Tokyo have even built underground floodwater cathedrals, because we're talking about a huge container basin, okay? So I get to my question, Madame la Mairesse. Yeah, I'm happy to see you there. It's probably the first time since you've been there.
Yes, sir.
Good for you. Congratulations. You worked hard to get there. So my question is, I hope you can answer it because Mr. Mayor isn't here today.
I'll give it my best shot.
Oh, thank you. Do your best. Have you guys made adapting to the changing climate the priority that it deserves by adopting home protection measures like the City of Montreal's planned construction of flood water retention basins in as many parks as they can? And what other decisions have you made in the last 3 months to protect our homes from accelerating climate change and flooding?
Before we get to that, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Last month you came to us and I was a little concerned. I'd like to know how you are.
How I am?
How you are. You were not feeling very well last month.
Well, my health is fading since I was flooded, and my brain is kind of not as powerful. Well, it was never very powerful, but it's not functioning as well. So I'm slowly going to be more like my age. I'm going to be 84 fairly soon.
Well, I'm glad to see you here
Yeah.
tonight.
Hey, thanks for for being considerate like that.
Your question, you asked what the city is doing. We all know we're waiting on the studies, so we haven't received any results as of yet. Retention bases, the city of Kirkland does have its retention bases, and backflow valves are the best way, not the only way, but the best way when it comes to flooding. But I'm going to put this over to Joe.
The city has, well, you mentioned Tokyo having underground.
Yeah, cathedrals they're calling it.
Our municipality does have underwater retention. As a matter of fact, we just completed a project on Harold and Summerhill where the street basically became an underground cathedral to retain water. Those are different methods that the city already applies. As Nancy mentioned earlier, the study, we're still waiting for the study to come through. We're phase 1 of the study would determine why the network responded the way it did, and whether or not and then phase 2 of that is going to be what improvements can be made to make the system more robust. So we're still waiting for phase 1. Phase 2 will come after that. We're trying to get to this as quickly as possible. But like anything else, there were 194 cities that were flooded, all of which are looking for studies and analysis and improvements to be done on their or make their systems more robust. So it's taking a little longer than expected, but the city is definitely working in that direction.
Well, thank you, Joe. That's a very good information you just gave us there. My second question, considering what I said about where I live, okay, which was heavily affected by the storm, there is a serious problem at the corner where I live. I live right on the corner, like Eaton and Hymas, okay? When I came out, it was getting dark, and I'm not kidding, there was fountains of water like that coming out of the, at that corner, eh, from the water holes, or the manholes, you know. So that is a very bad corner. I have to be in the lowest part, so the pressure was the highest, okay. That's why I got 2 feet of water. So considering what I told you, like the windows, there's 100 condos where I live, eh? And our windows are all at the level of the sidewalk. There is a little higher level of the lawn, okay, which is a little higher, which does, so, you know, within inches. So would you consider putting another basin, like a water retention basin, in that area? Because it was heavily affected by the storm. That area is really a serious problem for the city.
I have to tell you, Mr. Pigeon, the night of the flood, myself, my fellow councillors, we were all on the ground. We went through the whole city, and many of our areas were affected, as in many of the cities in Quebec as well. I'm sure your corner was very bad, but we all got affected. To answer your question, I'll ask Joe.
So like I mentioned just before, the analysis is going to identify exactly what happened, where, when, and why. And at that point, we can then plan as to what needs to get done, if anything needs to get done in specific areas. But the intention really is to look at the city as a whole, and then also to look at the pockets where things seem to be worse than others, to identify whether or not there's a robustness that needs to be added to that computer system.
Okay, these are 2 questions. I'll come back maybe later.
Thank you, Mr. Jean.
Good evening. My name is Cheryl, 98 Morley Hill. And you stood very well there, not to follow up on him.
Thank you.
I'm debating which question to ask first, but let's start with the fluoride termination situation. I wish I knew all the background information so that I could make a good statement, but I don't. So I'm just going to add a little what I think. And what I think is that it seems to me as if we just hear and we just complain what the agglomeration council does, and we don't like it and we complain. It's been going on since, what, 15, 20 years now. Something as basic as this, which affects not really Montreal, but the Westphalian. Why hasn't there been more noise made? Why hasn't there been more activities done to put more pressure on somebody, whoever, you know? It seems as if we continue this cycle all the time. They do something which we do like, but because the way it's set up, they get away with it. can't there be some other actions done to put a little bit of pressure or something? Make a little bit of noise, you know?
From what I understood from Mr. Dufour, there's a lot of political pressure that's been put on Montreal. As far as the rest is concerned, I don't know, Joe, if you have a better...
This is relatively new, Marino. It's like 2 or 3 weeks that this has happened, so the mayors and councillors are trying to put pressure on Montreal to at least have gone through a proper process and let everybody like yourself, myself, understand better the pros and cons of maintaining it or not maintaining it, and to give everybody a voice. So the resolution that we're passing tonight is really asking Montreal to abstain from going ahead with their decision and to allow for the process to take place so that everybody can be better educated as to whether or not fluoridation should remain in water. That's what we're so we're doing the political side of it. We're going to see how that works. If that doesn't work, maybe there are other avenues to go down. At the moment, that's where we are. But this is fresh. This is 2 or 3 weeks old. This isn't something that's been brewing for the last 6 months.
But if we just say words and write words, then we'll get the point that that's all that the mayors will do it. Nothing happens.
We always have to act within the legal processes that are in place right now. So the mayors have a process. They can escalate. That's what they're doing. So they're all passing public resolutions supporting the idea of consultations and awareness and an understanding of what's going on. So that's where the mayors are right now. They really want to understand why the decision was made. Is it strictly a financial decision that was made? Was it a decision that was made on medical recommendations? We want to know all of the information that was used by them to come to the conclusion of pulling the plug. Understand that the Pointe-Claire site and the Dorval site are the only 2 filtration plants remaining on the island of Montreal that do provide fluoride in their water.
But the way I see things is that once it's removed, then the process of reinstituting it is going to be that much harder. So it should not be removed until proper consultation takes place.
That's what we're asking.
That's what we're asking for. We're asking for that, Marino. Maintain the situation the way it is now by providing fluoride, and then have to go through the proper and necessary analysis and consultations, and then make the decision at a later date if the decision is to keep it or the decision is to remove it.
Okay, the next question, I find it very, very troubling because the way that I came across the information, and I just did not expect it to happen in Kirkland. I heard it first on CJD, which I never listened, but I don't know why that morning I listened to it. And then, sure enough, in the Gazette, this article was written. And if you want me to read it, if not, I'll just allude to it. It says, shots fired at home in Kirkland, and maybe Mr. Brown, he's the counsel for that area. After an investigation, after multiple shots were fired late Sunday at a residence in the West Island. And it wasn't the first time that such violence had taken place. And I looked to see if somebody from the city would make a comment or would give an explanation, and I have yet to find it. So if there's an explanation why this happened, how it came about, to rest us and have a little bit of peace of mind, it will be willing to listen.
Okay. Right now, you know that there's an ongoing investigation. The point of contact at this point would be Joe and the commander. Joe, I don't know if you can shed some light or...
So, again, there's an investigation going on. Nothing that we want to discuss here tonight should prevent that from moving forward positively and not have it. Nothing that I'm going to say here tonight is going to have an impact on the investigation. I'm making very, very sure that my choices of words are used very carefully. We've been meeting with the residents. First of all, it is one particular home, as you read in the news, that's been targeted. It remains that one home that's targeted. We've had 2 in-person meetings with the residents of that street and the commander as well to answer questions try and reassure people that the police who is leading this investigation is doing everything they can to try and resolve the issue. This is definitely the second or the third time that something of this happens, and everybody's taking it very, very seriously. Besides that, Marino, I do not want or cannot share more information than that, other than the police are doing everything they can to protect the area, and I don't want to have an impact on the case.
And the law is kept private.
And the law is kept private. So,
well, I appreciate that, that it's a sensitive issue, but it would also, be welcome to have some reassurances from the administration, to tell us whatever it is that they feel comfortable telling without compromising the investigation.
What I share with you tonight is all that I'm willing to share publicly on this matter. I want the police to maintain the focus that they have in this case. I want them to solve it as soon as possible so everybody in the city can live in peace, especially those poor people of Boba right now. But I will not divulge anything else other than what I've said to you at this point. I do not want to give away any information that will harm the case. I've done the best I can to explain to you what's going on. It's not at all, it's really, like I said, targeted to one house in one area, and that's what's going on right now.
And we are in correspondence with the residents at all times.
That's reassuring. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No mayors and councillors. I'm Cheryl Hilton.
Actually, first.
Hi, Mayor and councillors. It's great to see you. I am Cheryl Gilson. I'm of 62 Burton Boulevard. If you don't mind, can I comment on 2 different points with me? So,
what was your address on Burton Boulevard?
62. Soixante-deux. So my first, I am a dental technologist, and I have a graduate of George Brown College in Toronto. And discussion about fluoridation with water, I don't know if this has been brought to the city of Montreal, but fluoridation with water means you can have stronger dental enamel, which means lower rates of tooth decay, because having fluoridation water means you can have a mix of appetite, which is sort of normal, and having a lower appetite and having mixture means stronger teeth, which means lower rates of tooth decay. My second question is regarding 9.3, the planning and architecture integration of 75 Kirkland Boulevard, which is a church for the Plymouth Brotherhood. A lot of my neighbors are here tonight to discuss this matter. What they are concerned about is where is the new site for the parking lot. People have heard that there's going to be expansion in the parking lot, and the question is it going to be the front or is it going to be towards the back as it probably is? And the second other concern people have is if that the forest is going to be cut off as a fence, and the other questions people have is the architecture going to be similar to what property is, or something that's congruent with the neighborhood, because we have a lot of concerns that it's going to be something that's windowless as other buildings in Montreal and other locations.
Thank you.
Excuse me, we're having trouble hearing what you said. Could you summarize, please, what your question was?
The microphone.
Okay, I'm saying a lot of my neighbors are here tonight because they're concerned about the construction of and demolition of the church on 75 Kirkland Boulevard. Their concerns are where is they heard expansion of our parking lot, where is that going to be the front or is it going to continue to be the back? The other concerns our neighbors have here is if their access to the park at Allencroft is going to be cut off from the construction of the fence. And the other concerns is if the architecture is going to be congruent with the current architecture, because there is concerns that there's going to be a windowless buildings as other architectural requirements that we've had in other locations in Canada.
Okay. I'd like to thank you for your points for the fluoridation of water. Thank you very much for that. As for your question, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like for Councillor Paul, Mr. Paul Dufour, if you're able to answer them.
Yes, thank you. Hi, Cheryl. We just passed the caucus tonight the recommendations from the Urban Planning Committee on the PIA for the building and the site at 75 Kirkland Boulevard. Just go back in time a bit. That church, St. Mary's Church, was sold to the Plymouth Christian Brotherhood Church in March 2021. So it's been about 3.5 years. On several occasions, the owners of the church, they call it the Kirkland Assembly Hall, had submitted plans to the Urban Planning Committee. And there was many changes made in those plans because they did not fit in with the community, with the area where it is. As you know, I've lived there since 1979. So I also, not only as your counselor, but have a special interest in what goes there. Very important to me. So, that being the case, as I said, it was finally passed at the committee this past October 8th. Submitted to us this evening because we could not, a council cannot speak about that until it's passed in Congress. So that's why I can speak about it tonight. And it was just passed this evening. Just to get into the nitty gritty so everybody will know, because I have phone calls at home, people worry about 500 parking spaces and such. That's not going to happen. What's going to happen, first of all, the building will be demolished. I'll get to that after. The building that was put in this place will have a 21% decrease in footprint. So in other words, it'll go from 11,352 square feet to 8,900 square feet. On the land, one thing that will happen, and you have to understand that this church has respected all of the zoning inside that for public institutions, which is religious institutions. They respected that. So there's no minor derogation, they respected everything. And in that, you will see that there are 85 proposed parking spaces. And the reason that might shock some people, 85, probably now I would say at the most St. Mary's has 50. And the reason being is when St. Mary's was built back in the late 60s or early 70s, okay, there was no zoning for, how can I say, a minimum requirement for parking spaces. Things have changed since then, and every building that goes up, commercial, industrial, institutional, has to have a minimum requirement by law. And they're respecting this with their 85 parking spaces. Okay? Number two, green space, they have a requirement to keep 15%. They're keeping 30.8% as green space on the property. They are required to put in 39 trees. They're only taking out 1 or 2 trees that are there now, but they're putting in 66 trees. The total building height also, it could go to a maximum of 10 meters, but it's going to go to 8.39 meters. It's going to be lower. And there'll be no access. I heard questions about if there's going to be access from Allencroft Street. There's no access from Allencroft Street. That was one of the concerns I know. On another point, I think it's pretty good. I've looked at it, I've seen it. I think it's going to integrate well with the surrounding area. It's a bit more parking space, that's true. The parking space will be on the right side, on the Allencroft side, but far away from the road. There's a good buffer between the city property and their property. What I've seen, and a lot of trees going in there. And there will be an entrance, an extra entrance, on Kirkland Boulevard. On Kirkland Boulevard. It has to be for that many cars there because they'll be parking on that side. Other than that, I think it's going to be pretty good. There'll be a fence. There'll be a fence, a 6-foot fence. That's all they can put up in the back between, I guess we call the limits of Beaconsfield and their property, which they're allowed to do by our zoning bylaws. Okay. But there'll be no other fence past the front of the building or around the building in front of it. There'll be none of that. So there will be a fence in the back, which they have a right to do. Other than that, what's coming up in the future, is that there'll be a demolition committee meeting, which you'll get notice to because signs usually are put up, I guess 30 days before the meeting. They'll tell you where the meeting is, and when that building has to be taken down anyways. But there will be a demolition committee, which you will be able to attend, I would imagine. And following this meeting, residents have 30 days to send in questions to the city, and we'll answer all the questions. An official letter will be prepared should the demolition be approved. It has to be approved first when we go ahead. And the construction time will depend on the process because it has to come back here after demolition. So It might not be done, it depends when it can be done, but I don't see anything be done much this year for the demolition committee. So I'll go into next year. That's all I have to say. Any other questions?
I have a question. Where exactly is the second entrance to the boulevard going to be placed?
I would say it was closer to 62, 64, if my memory is correct, because I know this 60 is the building beside you. You're 62?
Yep.
Probably 60, between 64 and 66.
Okay, so pretty much.
Okay, on the side, on the Allencroft side, but I mean not on Allencroft, but on going into the side of the church, closer to Allencroft.
Okay.
Okay.
And for the fence, is that going to like have a passageway for people going from Heights to the
They can do what they want to their property,
Okay.
and I think they probably will close it off.
All right.
But there'll be no fence put on the side of the property past the back, I think back setback, up to the front and around. It'll be open like it is now. And there'll be no parking in the front of the building. Well, the front, I call it, it's the back really where you live. There'll be no parking there. There'll be green space. Even the church might be set back a little bit farther than it is now. And the other thing is, the building has lots of windows. That was one of the criteria that we made sure that they did. There's lots of windows, because I remember when it first came up, it didn't fit into the neighborhood. And I can assure you, there's lots of windows.
Thank you so much for your.
You're very welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul, very much for that.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rosemary Yacucci. I live on 86 Alta Vista, and my question is also related to the church, the development of the church.
Yes.
Now, you've covered some of the questions or the thoughts that I had, thanks to, I don't know the lady's name, but that's fine. But I do have some other questions related to that development. So you said that you've had a meeting this evening where you've seen, I guess, and decided and approved the plans for the building, if I've understood correctly.
We accepted a recommendation from the urban planning department, a committee, I'm sorry, and we accepted that as a council that they
Okay.
did.
So as, let's say, residents, when would we be able to see what this plan is, like what the church is going to look like? Are you going to be posting this? Are we able to go somewhere to see what this new design is going to be look like?
If you like, tomorrow morning you can call the urban planning department and ask them to set up an appointment with you so you can see the plans.
Okay, that sounds great.
Show it, you can legally show it.
Yeah, what they can legally show, they will show you.
Okay, so that's fantastic. You mentioned that there's going to be like 66 trees. I presume these are not 66 maples that they're putting in,
No,
but
no,
probably
no.
like more like a hedges, like cedars around the property.
The city will have a say in what goes in there.
Okay.
We will have a say, and you can believe me. Don't forget, most of the trees that are there now will be staying.
Okay, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm not.
Most of the trees, a lot of the trees will be going in front of the building, but down Allencroft.
Right. Okay.
Separate, because the parking is there. We thought of separating that as much as we can from the people that live at 10, probably 14 Allencroft.
Right. So my other question is with regards to the timeline. Okay, because obviously you said that you're going to be doing the demolition. You'll be putting a sign that's going to allow us the opportunity to ask questions for the demolition.
Exactly.
What is the expected timeline for this project? Are we looking?
It can only start after the demolition committee has authorized demolition. Right. Yeah, boy.
So it really depends on them. So they have to apply for, they have to make an application for demolition of the building. Once that process goes through, then they then have to ask for a permit to rebuild the building. They have a time frame which they do that in. So in all essence, this would be as short a period as 4 to 6 months, as long a period as a year and a half, right? So it really is dependent on when they initiate the processes now.
Okay, so we
and I can only mention, they've been there 3.5 years.
Right, no.
Nothing much has happened.
Correct, and I think that's why I'm kind of asking, because, once you get the ball rolling, obviously there are going to be certain milestones that they're going to have to meet with regards to the timeline of the project, but are we looking at that potential like Q4 2025, 26, just more or less high level as to...
Really dependent on when they decide to begin the process.
So I guess my last question, because I was only allowed 2, is that with regards to Allencroft, right now it's closed, as you're going down Allencroft and then you're crossing over into Beaconsfield and you have the pool there. is there going to be any intention of opening that as a thoroughfare? Okay, or is it going to stay completely closed?
No, I think what you're talking about is in the parking lot now, there is a passageway that the city helped open up at that time. That, if they put up a fence, you do not have to basically respect that. But the passageway beside Teresa's house, that number, I think it's 80, right? That will stay. They cannot touch that, that's not their property.
Oh, that's not their property?
Not at all.
That belongs to what, the city of the...
That's right, Kirkland Road.
Okay, and that will stay as a pathway?
That will stay, and we'll still have the access down there instead of cutting through the parking lot, to be able to go down.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. I was just concerned that you'd be turning that into the continuation of the road of Allen Hall.
No, never happened. Never.
Okay, that's all. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I live right across.
Name and address, please.
My name is Robin Chowdhury.
Thank you, Stephen.
And I live right across. And I guess the problem that I'm affected with happens here because the power fails here very often. If there's a slight breeze, the rain, we have no power in this sector. And I've talked to Paul before, and winter is coming. The roads go up, the electrical road, and immediately we start having every now and then a power failure, and we don't know how long it will last. So I had requested that the city puts pressure to Hydro-Quebec, renew its equipment. Maybe the transformers are old, I have no idea what the situation is, but we have been suffering for years in this sector. So I'd like to hear from this council what their plan is with respect to approaching Hydro-Quebec and do something about it.
I'm going to give this over to Joe.
So we've been doing a lot of work with Hydro-Quebec relative to the entire city. So we've had pockets that have suffered, if you want, more outages over the last few years than we're used to. What Hydro-Quebec has done on the north side, for example, is they've inspected the runs of the lines from the actual stations on St. John's and on sources, and then made the repairs, if you want, to the equipment that's either too old, broken down, or just not functioning well. So they've actually done that. They're actually doing exactly the same thing for the south side. So there's two things. One is they were inspecting the lines from the Mosadell area towards where your home is. And they're doing that through visual inspection of their equipment. They also notified us a week or two ago that they were flying helicopters very, very low over the city, again, to inspect their equipment. Again, it's going to be for the entire city, but a lot of focus being put on the south side right now because you're right next door to us, so when you're up, we're out.
The library's one out. It's another different phase.
It's a different grid, exactly. So how the grids were determined, 50 years ago, I don't know. And every time they added on, I guess, additional subdivisions, they added on a new grid. So your house and my house being next to each other, making up two separate grids, depending on when we were built. What I can tell you is that the city has been putting a lot of focus or a lot of pressure on Hydro to get the issue resolved. A lot of their claim is trees, right? So we have a lot of mature trees. The branches are touching the trees, so we're asking them to improve their maintenance program. Right now it's once every 7 years that they come in and trim their trees. Karen, that's 7 or 5? 7?
I think it's 5.
5? Our program is 1 every 5 years right now. We're noticing that we have to look at that program to see whether or not it needs to get done because trees are growing faster. So
the equipment need to change, just not maintenance.
Well, it's all maintenance. So it goes from equipment and it goes to what causes the power outages, right? So if a lot of trees are around the power lines and are creating short circuits and creating the power outages, then that needs to get resolved as well.
They have hundreds of reasons. Okay. We can't continually suffer.
I understand what you're saying, and what I'm saying to you is that we resolved. There were areas on the north side that were having similar issues. We've resolved those. We're not getting the same. Since they made the repairs that they said they were going to do. By the way, the repairs that they made for the north side were close to sources because the lines take off from sources or from St. John's and make their way over here. So you may not necessarily see work happening in the actual city, but the line that you're feeding off of starts somewhere else, and that's where the repairs were made. And we no longer have the calls that we were getting from the north side saying that there was a lot of power outages, and it was pretty much in the middle of the city. So we are putting pressure on them. We'll continue putting pressure on them. We understand the issue. Like I said, we're trying to make it better. Ultimately, they have to carry out their work. Our job is to make sure that they do it by putting pressure on them. So I appreciate your intervention.
The second question. The water maintenance of the water lines, pipes. We keep getting notices that we are going to work on work somewhere every couple of weeks. We get a notice on telephone. The question is it focused for the area, or it is general notice to everybody in Kirkland? Because we keep getting this notice and the water remains the same, or sometimes it's affected. We are not aware if we are going to be affected. The notice is for everybody.
No, so when you receive a notice, there are notices that go out. This is for water you're referring to, right?
Yes.
So there are notices that go out sometimes citywide. There are notices that go out that are for example, we flush our system, we flush our entire system on an annual basis. So we do that by sector and we do that by street. So you'll get, the notices will be very specific to 2 or 3 or 4 streets. Just like it could be a district that's affected by it. So the notices go out to those who are impacted by whatever manipulation or whatever issue we're dealing with in that day.
Okay. And one last clear question. The water pressure on this building, this apartment here, is very low on the higher floors. Do you check the pressure to the main feeding these buildings?
We can definitely check them. I know where you live, so I'll take note of that.
So it will be checked.
It can definitely be verified, the water pressure. Who's responsible for the 7th floor of your building or the 5th floor of your building is a different question. We'll get there once we know if the water pressure is sufficient for water or not.
What's the pressure you should have normally in the night?
I don't know, sir. I'm not the town engineer, so I have to ask that question to my engineering department.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dave Parker, for Beaubois, Timberley. In light of the increased extreme violence and attacks that are occurring in Timberley, and the newest one being mere 8 days ago, they continue to escalate, and I would like to know what actions the Town Council is taking in order to reestablish some sense of security, some sense of peace, a peace of mind for the residents in that area. It's been 5 months, and we still haven't seen any progress whatsoever in the way of the investigation. Obviously, the commander, something needs to go above the commander of PDQ-1. Pressure needs to be applied higher up the rank, the command structure than him. This has been 5 months and we are at wit's end. Many of the people in the area are talking about selling. You can't sell. We spoke with a real estate agent. We can't sell. There's no real estate agent that's going to take on those contracts. They know they can't sell them. It's already affecting, apparently, a house for sale on Beaubois. There's already questions. The real estate agent selling that house is already fielding questions concerning this matter. I want to know what the council and at what level the council is applying pressure to get some kind of resolution, a lasting resolution to this matter.
Thank you. I have to tell you that as a council member, it is a very disturbing situation. However, there is an ongoing investigation, and with an ongoing investigation, it is easier and more concise to keep only a few people active in it for security reasons, obviously. And the point of contact for council is Joe. I don't know if we have another council member as a point of contact. You are the point of contact.
And the mayor as well.
And the mayor.
Dave, I understand the situation you're in. I can't say that I'm not there. So I'm trying to empathize with the folks living on Beaubois. The city did what it could as far as making the changes to the street structure. So we changed the lights to make it brighter. We do more patrols in the area where we can. It's a police investigation. Your comment of how far have you escalated? We've escalated. We continue to escalate. And that's from the mayor. And we'll continue to do so. I check in with the commander on a daily basis. Please know the problem with these types of interventions is this is recorded and is posted tomorrow. So the information that what's going on in the investigation, maybe you and I can step aside after, but please understand that the area is definitely of concern to everybody, and everything being done that I can to make sure the area is safe.
Are you leveraging the expertise you have on the council in Mr. Bouchard to apply pressure in the SBVM?
We'll leverage everything we possibly have to make this go faster.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bonsoir, good evening. Kim Hogan, 105 Alta Vista. Just two quick questions. One mainly for you, Paul. Sorry, but your mic was not as clear as Joe or Nancy's from the back row with the ventilation system. Related to obviously 9.3. Question related to, just if I caught everything correctly. So any citizen is welcome to contact the city and the planning committee and book a meeting and request access to look at those plans, from what I understood.
What I said was, you can call the urban planning department, not the committee, the department.
Okay, sorry.
City Hall here tomorrow, and set up a meeting with them to look at the plans.
Perfect. Okay, wanted to make sure I understood.
Whatever we can show legally.
Yeah, absolutely understood. And then in terms of timeline, the next thing that would happen would be the demolition committee meeting. As citizens, we would receive 30 days notice in advance as to when that is.
There are signage that's installed in front of the actual building.
Physically on the building?
On the buildings, you'll see them up on side. So there's one on the building, there's one on the side of the road, so you'll be able to see it visible.
Perfect.
There'll be a session that'll be held with the members of the demolition committee, and you're allowed to come in and ask your questions and watch that process go.
And then there's 30 days post that for anyone that can't attend, I presume, to submit other questions.
I just want to go a little further on Paul's comment, what we can legally show you. Understand that when a project of this nature would be like no different than you're building your house.
Absolutely.
Or you're renovating your house. There are things that are private to the city and the owner, especially if it's blending in, if the committees have accepted the architecture of the project. So what we will show you is what we can legally show you. So I just don't want you to think that you're going to come here tomorrow and things going to be opened up.
But as someone who's resided on that street for 20 years, I just want to make sure that there's an access and quality perspective.
I understand. I understand. I can assure you that. So the committee, which we haven't mentioned yet, the committee is made up of residents as well, right? So there's 2 councillors on it and 6 residents, 5 residents? 6 residents. So it's residents that are actually looking at the projects. It's not just administration and/or council. And their input is very valued on exactly that. How does it affect the neighborhood? How does it blend in? And that's exactly what they look at.
And just one thing, if you're concerned, I know where you live. Exactly. If you're concerned, I mean, if you're concerned with traffic.
Yeah, I mean, you had indicated earlier the access is on the other side, yet the parking lot's on the Allencroft.
There should be no traffic with regards to the church when somebody is on the street that goes there.
There will obviously be, though, naturally stuff that's affected during demolition and construction, I would imagine. I think that's more so the timeline that many of my neighbors that were unable to attend tonight are curious about as well.
But you can ensure that measures will be put in place once the demolition is done and construction begins to, how can I say that, mitigate the disturbance on pollution, dust, I think, on the area.
So when we get to the demolition side of this, the committee can put all kinds of restrictions as to the hours of the day that it is demolished, the dust controls, the noise controls, all of that could be put in stipulations in whatever decision is made.
That's great. Yeah, perfect. And in terms of my second question, sort of unrelated but related, for the neighbors who are not here tonight, in terms of what gets posted to the city's website tomorrow related to this council meeting, does it include the Q&A that happens during the public question session as well?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you all.
Thank you too.
Good evening, I'm Debbie Hughes from 62 Kirkland Boulevard. I have some questions about the water quality. It's almost on a weekly basis, we get a phone call advising us that they're going to be flushing the pipes again. This has been going on for, it seems, a couple of years now. I understand that there's corrosion in the pipes, and I'm wondering, is there going to be something done about this? Because we're at the point now where we don't even drink the water, we're buying bottled water. I hear it's safe to drink, but the taste is really not appealing. So I'm wondering, is there going to be any replacement of the pipes, or what's in the works?
Sure. I think I'll let Joe answer this. I do know of some plans, but I'll let Joe answer this.
How do you get your name? I'm sorry.
It's Debbie Hughes, Purple Boulevard.
Mrs. Hughes, a project was presented. So it's been a long time because we've actually basically traced back every single pipe, every single valve to the extremities of the city, to other cities, to try and determine what was causing the issue on the south side of Kirkland. After the analysis was complete, which was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we presented to council a project that's going to take place in 2025. That needs to take place in 2025. We just didn't have enough time to carry it out this year because of we have to put in temporary lines to be able to fix the pipes you're referring to. In order to do that, the temporary lines are on the surface, and with winter coming, we just didn't have enough time to be able to carry out the work, the extended work that we have to do in the actual area. That project hasn't officially been approved yet because it gets approved through the budget cycle, which is going to be November and adopted in December. But I can assure you that that project is on the top of the list of projects that we have to do in 2025 to get this resolved once and for all.
So does that mean you'll be digging up the streets?
We're not digging. So when we do these types of repairs, it's a lining of the pipe that takes place. So what you find are pits in the middle of the street. So where there are valves, they dig out that area there. I'm going to say 8 feet by 8 feet. There's cages put around there, and they're able to take the valve off. They're able to line the pipes from one valve to another valve, right, and then reinstall the valves at that point. And that can be done without having to dig up the streets. That can be done just by having these pits, that they refer to them, every location of the valve. It is definitely a big job, but it's going to get done once and for all, and it'll be good for the next 50 years.
Yay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome very much.
Thank you as well.
Hello, my name is Sheila Kankar.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can you please?
My name is Sheila Kankar, and I live at 60.
One second.
Yeah, I can hear all that.
Okay, my name is Sheila Kankar, and we live at 65 Kirkland Boulevard. So our property, we share the property line with the church, and we've been living there for 29 years, maybe. So thank you for the opportunity to discuss with the church, and we'll certainly take advantage of looking at the plans. I have one question. Will the church will the new building stay in approximately the same location, or is it getting shifted up, down, left, around?
I believe Paul had said it's going to be shifted a bit. Do you know more information?
No, it's going to be relatively on the same property as now, a little bit smaller, 20% smaller.
Okay, smaller.
Where you live, I know exactly where you live. Nothing will change on your side.
Okay.
The entrance will still be there, of course.
Okay.
But that's it. Parking beside the cedars, that'll stay.
Okay.
But basically, the entrance will not be there. The entrance is going to be shifted around to the back of the building facing the high school.
Okay.
So you won't have the entrance on your side. It'll still look nice, I mean, kind of windows and stuff like that, but the entrance will no longer be there, be at the back of the building.
Okay. Okay, thank you. My second question is on a completely different subject. So our family were avid cyclists in Toronto, and that often means crossing the overpass on St. Charles to go over 40. So in the past few years, twice that interchange, St. Charles over 40 has undergone fairly major construction. Once was for them, and then just recently was the changing of the traffic lights. And nothing really changed in terms of the safety for pedestrians and cyclists to cross that sort of roller leaf. And it's actually not just dangerous for pedestrians and cyclists, but also the cars, because there's a system of yellow lights that you're supposed to press the button. Often they don't work. but then when they do flash, the cars have to come to sort of this screeching halt with the risk of getting rammed behind, and then you sort of go across. So it's really not a safe intersection for anybody. So my question is, does the city of Kirkland, I mean, like I said, that interchange went under construction twice and nothing happened. So are there any plans to try and make that interchange safer for pedestrians and cyclists?
Actually, we're installing a sonar system. Would that make a difference for the crossing coming up? Do you have anything for that?
Joe, you have to put like a secondary, primary light. I noticed that too the other day, about 30 feet before the actual.
Students can't hear a word. We can't hear.
Can't hear you.
Well, because I'm talking to him. Sorry. What I was telling Joe is that I've noticed that also, and there has to be a secondary light prior, 30 or 40 feet prior to the actual crosswalk light. I almost got rammed 2 days ago at that same intersection where I came to a stop for the crosswalk, and the person behind me didn't see why I was stopping, couldn't understand why I was stopping. But I think you have to put a light previous, some type of a warning.
Good idea, Dominic. So a couple of things. One is,
you're far from the mic.
I'm not 65 Perkins, so when you cross to the other side of the highway, is it to stay on St. Charles, or is it to get to the other side and head west
Well,
there?
for example, we go cycling on El Bazaar.
Okay.
We have a dentist on the other side, and I like to walk to the dentist. I try to walk or cycle as much as we can, and so it's various reasons.
So a couple things. One is we're just in the process of finalizing a bicycle path that crosses over at Chemin St. Marie. So that's, I think there's grass left to put on it, the actual, and some lineage, but that overpass, or that crossing of Highway 40 has been completed, so that at least to the west right now we have something. We are in discussions with the MTQ on the overpass. The structure of the overpass is owned by the Ministry of Transport. The surface we're responsible for, but we're limited to what the structure can handle.
Yeah.
So they made it very, very clear that the expansion of that particular overpass is very limited. I believe what they're proposing is that we can expand that overpass by about a foot on either side, and we're still trying to figure out what the cost would be to gain 2 feet on the overpass. So the width of the overpass is a very hard limit of what can and can't be done on St. Charles. I can tell you that there's plans somewhere in the near future to redo all 3 of the overpasses again, Sources, St. John's, and St. Charles. All of them with exactly the same structure, all of them with exactly the same limitations. So we are talking to them to see what can be done on the actual surface to integrate something that's a bit safer. People that want to cross over with their bikes, but I don't have an answer for you right now, but I can just tell you that there are discussions at very high levels right now to deal with that.
So first of
not
all,
deal with that, but to talk about that, to discuss it.
So thank you for your answer. First of all, as a pedestrian, the distance between St. Charles and Chemin St. Marie is not negligible. It's like seconds in a car, but to walk, it's in the winter, okay, it's not negligible. So it's good that there's going to be something dedicated right on St. Charles. And in the process of doing it, I would recommend doing it right, which means separated cycle path from the cars so that there's no risk of anybody getting hurt.
So I just want to say a couple of things. There's high level discussion about what can be done with that overpass. And like I said, we're very restricted as to what the capacity of that structure is. So I don't want you leaving here saying we're doing something. I want you leaving here saying there's talk about, they're looking at all the possible options to try and make something happen that's safer for the pedestrians and or bikers and or both. But understand that it's a very limited space that we're dealing with, and a very difficult structure to deal with. And the structure is not ours. and they're not replacing the structure, they're going to rehabilitate the structure. So we're going to be stuck with it the next 25 years, right? So we're in, like I said, very high level discussions right now to see any possibility of it. But please don't walk away from here saying, oh, we're going to do it, because I don't know yet if you can do it.
No, but I mean, the technology's out there. They're putting bypass on the Torque Bridge. Okay, so, and downtown there's bypass everywhere in much more densely populated area. So the technology is there.
But when we're building new, much easier than when you're trying to rehabilitate something that's existing that they don't want to replace. And if you haven't noticed, they put pillars for the REM a meter away from both sides, right? So even if we were rebuilding it, there's a limitation to that. And that wasn't by design. That wasn't our design. That was others' design. Okay. But we're working on it, I guess, is the bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Peter Petronio, residing at 104 Alta Vista. And unfortunately, my questions will continue on the so-called church. So, glad we come and see the plans. However, there's something that's really bothering me. Is
excuse me, Peter, the clerk needs to know your last name.
Petronio. Cotroneo.
Thank you.
So, have the city conducted a due diligence on the so-called church, its operations, the individuals of said church, and what is the business of the church?
I'm trying to wrap myself around that question. Due diligence on the operations is not.
So,
go ahead.
I really would like to know, who is this church? Who are the members? Who's the organization and the individuals at the head of this church?
There's a lot of privacy issue there. I understand your question. I can hear your question. I'm not able to answer that question. I don't know if you're able to answer that.
I could just mention one thing, Peter. How are you?
I'm good, a bit good.
All you have to do is go online and Google it, and you'll see what the church is.
Well, I certainly could do that. And
but we can't get into that. Where the members, we don't know.
No, I don't want to know the names. I don't want to know the names. I'm asking the city of Kirkland, this council, if they have done a due diligence on the church, right? Because
even if we did, and even if we saw things online, there's absolutely nothing we can do. No different than residents moving into our city that may have a different background than some of us that are moving into our city. We don't do backgrounds on residents buying property. Well, you need to understand that they're in full right. They bought the property. They were allowed to buy the property. They have their religious beliefs. They're in full right to be there, irrelevant of how we feel or don't feel about what they're bringing to the community. They're allowed to be there, and there's nothing legally that we can do. So I guess from an administrative point of view, there's absolutely that's not a path that we would go down, and I don't have a better answer than what I said.
So we haven't done a due diligence.
I didn't say that. I just said that there's nothing we can do to prevent them from being in our city. They've been in our city for 3.5 years.
And I'm not suggesting that you should. My question was simple. If it was a due diligence done, that's it, whether it was a yes or a no.
But my answer is also simple. One is, we don't do due diligence on people coming into our community. But I can assure you that anybody can Google and find whatever they want to find online about different religions and different cultures.
It sort of puzzles me that you say that we don't do that, because somebody wants to set up some sort of chemical factory out here.
Well, that's different. That's different.
I'm sure we do something. I have to, right?
That's not the same.
But
a more appropriate answer.
It's an institution.
A more appropriate answer is it is not our place to do that.
Okay.
And if you're trying to compare it to a chemical factory, we have zoning to deal with a chemical factory. This area is zoned institutional. They fit institutional as part of the religion. It's zoned institutional.
Can you speak louder, please?
Yes, I can. The zone is institutional, They're allowed to be there. We are not there to do a due diligence to judge. They had already purchased the property. We cannot stop people from purchasing a property. And we can't stop someone the same way. We cannot stop an individual who chose to buy your house and move to your house. We're not doing background checks on them. We have no right to do a background check on the future resident of this church.
You know, I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I just want to make sure that my property value is maintained and it's not degraded down in the future. That's the line of questioning. Because something happened on our street, on Alta Vista, neighbors were suspicious of activities happening in the house that were true at the end. So that's why this line of questioning with regards to who's moving in there. So it is the same church that is on the building itself, the name, I don't remember the name, I see it when I walk by, that's the same church. Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Bonjour, je continue sur le même sujet. Est-ce que c'est correct en français?
Oui.
Oui, bien sûr. Parfait. Anne, on n'entend pas? Non. Parfait, je vais te faire ça.
C'est quoi votre adresse à France?
Anne-Marie Lamotte, 74 boulevard Kirkland. Donc, je suis juste à côté de l'Église. Donc, juste pour poser quelques questions sur le bâtiment, on n'a pas vu évidemment les plans. Je veux savoir, est-ce qu'on réduit en fait le square footage de l'église? Est-ce que ça va être toujours sur un étage seulement ou est-ce qu'on augmente un peu en termes d'auteur?
Même chose. Même chose.
Même chose aussi?
Même chose, oui. La hauteur d'une maison, c'est à peu près 10 mètres, puis l'église va être à 8 mètres, 8,39 mètres. Un étage.
C'est la même chose, même quand on est peut-être plus petit que qu'est-ce qu'il y a pour le moment.
Juste parce qu'on a des maisons à 2 étages, et je me disais, ça doit être le maximum toléré dans le quartier en général.
Oui.
Parfait. Le nombre de places à l'intérieur, peut-être ça a été dit au début, j'ai peut-être pas bien compris avec les microphones qui semblent avoir des problèmes ce soir.
Le nombre de places?
À l'intérieur, oui, de l'église. Seating seats.
C'est 8000 pieds carrés.
Oui, c'est 8000 pieds carrés.
On essaie de demander le maximum capacité de dedans.
Exact.
300 personnes, 400 personnes, c'est
exact. 100 personnes.
Ça dépend. Je peux vous revenir avec le chiffre exact. Si vous me laissez votre numéro de téléphone, je peux vous appeler demain pour vous donner le chiffre exact.
On est dans les 3 chiffres, 2 chiffres? 3 chiffres? Parfait. Le stationnement va être agrandi un petit peu, donc il y a des lumières probablement qui vont être aussi ajoutées à ce stationnement-là. Est-ce que c'est le cas? C'est une question en fait. C'est pas...
Ça va être 85.
Stationnement, j'ai effectivement des lumières à l'extérieur qui d'habitude sont planifiées puis ça pointe vers le bâtiment, qui sont très bas.
Donc des lumières extérieures.
Sur l'environnement.
Des lumières extérieures vont être ajoutées pour 85 stationnements. Est-ce qu'on sait combien de juste on prend beaucoup de marge dans ces coins-là, fait qu'on est habitué de... C'est des questions que mes voisins me posent. Le nombre de poteaux de lumière qui vont être pour 85 stationnements,
j'ai pas de chiffre exact aujourd'hui.
Est-ce qu'il doit y avoir des régulations? Je ne les connais pas, là.
J'ai pas les chiffres avec moi ce soir.
OK, parfait. Je vais juste accumuler des questions de mes voisins.
Absolument.
je vais tout aller partager l'information par la suite. Alors, monsieur, je ne sais pas les rendre monsieur, mais selon le registre foncier, c'est la confession religieuse, en fait, ça s'appelle la Salle de Bible et d'Évangile de Montréal. Donc, c'est un groupe qui vient de Montréal, évidemment. Vous pouvez aller sur Google, si vous voulez. Donc, je répète la même question. Est-ce qu'on sait de où est-ce qu'ils sont situés? Juste, en fond, le but, c'est de mieux comprendre les activités qu'ils vont avoir dans le quartier. Est-ce que c'est une confession religieuse qui fait beaucoup des baptêmes le dimanche? J'essaie juste de comprendre le genre on sait d'où est-ce que je sais que c'est...
J'ai pas de réponse à ça. C'est une église. Ils ont le droit d'être présents sur le terrain. Ils ont acheté le terrain, c'est leur propriété. Je ne peux pas vous dire s'il va y avoir des baptêmes une fois par semaine ou s'il n'y a pas de baptême, je n'ai aucune idée.
OK. Puis, connaissez-vous le nom de la confession religieuse même? En fait, c'est là, vous avez dit qu'on ne pouvait pas divulguer cette information.
On connaît les propriétaires. Ça, parce qu'ils sont enregistrés sur la propriété si ça concerne.
OK, parfait.
Juste une petite Si vous allez sur le rôle d'évaluation de la Ville de Montréal,
oui,
vous aurez toute cette information.
Parfait. On continue les recherches. Merci.
Good evening. Tom Dufault, and I'm 12 Allencroft in front of that famous church. Question for you. The church was purchased like 3.5 years ago, and it's been going down the tubes ever since. It was probably not in very good shape when it was purchased. I guess my first question is, does the city not have bylaws in place to make sure that properties are kept up? I understand there's lots of mold in the building, although I haven't been in it. It's supposedly in really bad shape. And I guess my follow-up question, will be my second question right away as well. Have we looked at remediating the church as opposed to demolishing? I mean, demolishing in a residential area is always problematic, and it's going to be a major disturbance for everybody. So I'm wondering if it was actually looked at to make sure that it was impossible to save the church the way it is.
I think that's their decision. If they wanted to redo it, then they decided not to redo it. Rehabilitate the church, they decided not to. That's their decision, not ours.
And the city can allow a building to get into that kind of shape?
Well, we can demolish it.
Like you said, you haven't been inside of it. I actually visited the church probably about 4 years ago, before it was sold. There was a water leak in the reception hall, but it was located in the reception hall. They were dealing with it. So when you say that there's all kinds of mold in it, I haven't been in since 3.5 years. But the project, it actually took us 2 years to get to the project that we are at today, 1.5 to 2 years to get where we are today. So we've been working with the church to try to remediate the issue for a very long time now. Your final decision was to demolish and to rebuild a brand new church.
The leak that was in the main reception, it was fixed. They hadn't had that fixed. They had that fixed.
Because when you walk by the building, it looks like there's a lot of fog and humidity inside the building. I guess my other question is, in terms of the footprint, so are they going to be excavating the foundations, or are they going to be laying the building on existing foundations? Because that's another disturbance and another
That'll all be resolved as part of the demolition cycle. I don't have an answer for you tonight.
Okay, but the building is supposed to be, per the plans that you've approved, the building is supposed to be on the footprint.
I didn't say that. I said that would be, whether the foundation comes out or not, I don't have an answer for you.
Right, but is the footprint of the building going to be in the same spot?
It's very close to the same spot, but a smaller, 20% smaller building.
So not pushing it back in the back of the wall?
No. The parking will remain in the back now. Most of the parking will be in the back, and the entrance is in the back.
Could I recommend that we have a meeting, instead of having these individual meetings to look at the plans? I think the whole, there's enough people here. There's probably more that are going to want to also see the plans and have a discussion.
Once again, we're able to show what we can show. So I know that people are walking away from here saying, want to see the plans. If I'm legally allowed to show you the plans, we can. If I'm not legally allowed to show you the plans, I can. So I don't have the answer for you right now, and I'll find out what we're legally allowed to show you, and then we can contact individuals that are here tonight.
Okay, maybe through Paul. Sure.
But understand that I'm just trying to get, like I made the point before, it's you renovating your house. You don't want your plans shown to everybody, right? It's a very similar process. Where I
think it's very different when you're demolishing a building, potentially taking out foundations and disturbing an entire residential.
I'm going to disagree with you on that. But that's okay. Whatever we can legally show you, we will do that.
Okay. So when are we going to find out when we can actually see?
I will have a conversation tomorrow with my retirement department and my legal department tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, good evening. My name's Teresa Connolly at AT Alta Vista. So I just had a question about the usage of the church building in terms of whether there are restrictions on the usage of a building that is designated as a church. Is there any information as to whether it will be used, for example, as a school? There was talk at some point of there being a school run in the building, And I just wondered if we are allowed to know that, and if there are any restrictions on the usage of the
I don't know
building.
that it's zoned as a church, I don't know what
That
it's called.
was specific, I think, in urban planning, when they spoke to them, they did not have school there, you know. It's not a church. It's a church, but not school, you need conventional there.
The reason I'm asking was just the idea of how much extra activity there would be, like traffic and busyness in general, because usually with a church it's like Sunday or weddings and occasionally in the week, but that was the reason for my question. So.
Teresa, I was led to believe through this whole process, they have one mass, what you call it, every Sunday.
Okay.
They don't have them during the week, and it's mostly on Sundays.
Yeah, that was, it's good to know that, just to have an idea of what to expect. So thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, the closing of the city. Can I have a proposer?
I will propose the closing of the meeting, Dominic Zita.
Does somebody want to second it?
And I will second it, all in four.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening. Thank you.